Okay, so we're going to start with Section 2, which covers data manipulation in R. And as we had mentioned previously, data frames are really what we call the heart and soul of all analysis that we're going to conduct in R. They really represent an Excel spreadsheet-like view of the data where rows represent observations and the columns represent the different fields of information or variables that you have for each of those observations. So what we're going to do here in Chapter 2 is discuss how we can create data frames from scratch and how we can load information into data frames from external files. We will also cover quite a few functions for manipulating data once they're in data frames, functions such as numeric-like functions, for example, taking the log of variables, string-based or character-based functions, and date-based manipulations also, as well as if-then-else type of data manipulation. We'll also cover a little bit of advanced database-like operations such as merging and appending data frames or data sets together. So as I mentioned, data frame, if you want to think about it and so the analogy to Excel, it's a data set. In SAS we might refer to it as a data set, but in R we refer to it as a data frame. But it's just a set of records and observations with columns representing the variables. From an R standpoint, the best way to think about a data frame is as a collection of vectors. Each of those vectors has the same length, so all the things we talked about in Section 1 of the course about vectors is going to come into play here when we talk about data frames, because the data frame really is just a set of vectors. The difference between a data frame and what we talked about in Section 1 is that the vectors in a data frame can all hold different kinds of information. They have to be of the same length, have the same number of observations, but I can have some vectors that are numeric vectors in my data set, some that are character vectors, some that are logical vectors, some that are date vectors, and so on. So it's really just a collection of vectors of different types. Within R, the data frame itself, like everything else in R, is an object. Its official class name in R is data.frame. And each variable, each vector inside of the data frame is a vector and an object in its own right. So those vectors will have classes like numeric or character and so on. And we can treat them just like the vectors just how we treated the vectors in Section 1. And last thing I want to say before we jump into some R code is that a data frame can be manipulated as a whole, or I can deal with each variable individually. Remember, a variable is a vector, so the way I'm going to deal with these variables on an individual basis is to use something called a $sign notation, which we'll talk about as we get into the code stuff. With that said, I'm going to jump back into our Resolution R window and just discuss some initial basics for creating very basic data frames from scratch and some of the high-level functions that we can apply to data frames. So the first data frame I'm going to create, I'm going to create from scratch, as I said, using the function data.frame, as you can see here. And the way I create a data frame from scratch is I'm going to specify each of the vectors of information, in other words, each of the variables that are going to be inside of that data frame, as well as the data that will be represented in each vector. So in this particular data frame, I'm creating a data set with 3 variables. One of them is called ID, one of them will be called name, and a third one will be called value. You can see that my data frame here will have 5 records or 5 observations in it. The ID field will have the values 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The name field will have these 5 names here. And the value field will have 5 randomly generated values, random uniform values between the numbers 1 and 10. So let me go ahead and execute that code. And you can see then when I type the name, the object name of the data frame, which I call df up here in the code, I get a listing of the actual data that's in that data frame. So now that I see that I have a data frame or a data set with 5 records and 3 observations. Notice, as I mentioned, that the class of this data frame is officially in our data.frame. A few high-level functions that I can work with on a data frame would be, for example, if I want to know the number of rows or columns in my data frame, I would use functions in R such as nRow and nCol applied to my data frame. To retrieve the names of the variables or the fields in my data frame, I can use the names function. So when I say names of data frame of df, I get back a character vector showing the three fields that are in my data frame: ID, name, and value. Notice that this itself is a character vector that I can manipulate in R on the fly if I'd like to. Last important couple of points here in our beginning introduction to section 2 is that when I want to do analysis or manipulate data just within one of the variables or vectors that are part of that data frame, I'm going to come back to this $sign notation that I mentioned before. So when I want to refer, for example, to the ID variable within this data frame, I'm going to use the notation df $ID, and what that does for me is it refers only to that vector within the data frame. So when I type df $ID, what comes back to me is the values 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which are just the values for that field in the data frame. I can do that, of course, with each or any of the other fields that are in my data frame. Now, in some cases, I may want to refer to a field name programmatically within my code. And this next method of referring to a variable within my data frame uses this double bracket notation. So I'm going to use the name of the data frame, df, and then within double brackets, I'm going to put a character string that represents the name of that variable. Okay, so if I want to, an alternative way to refer to the value vector within my data frame df is to say df bracket and then value in quotes in the brackets, and I get back the same thing that I returned when I typed df $value. So they're exactly equivalent but slightly different ways of getting the same value. The last little comment here is that, again, when I'm referring to the vectors within the data frame, I can use all the techniques that we talked about in section 1 to manipulate and do analysis on those vectors. So if I want to know the average value, for example, for the value variable within my data frame, I would just say mean of df $value, and it will spit back to me the mean of that variable. And if I want to know how many observations I have for that variable, I'd say length. Again, using the same functions I used in section 1 on any particular vector within that data.